The alien fleet moved slowly through the dark edge of the sector. It was a quiet place, far from busy trade lanes. Commander Varex watched the stars from the bridge of his flagship with calm confidence. His species had conquered many systems, and this mission felt easy. Their scanners suddenly detected a single ship ahead. It was small, drifting near a dead moon. The ship's design looked old, rough, and simple. The data confirmed it was human. Varex felt a wave of amusement. One weak ship, alone, so far from help. To him, it looked like a mistake made by a careless species. The bridge crew studied the image on the main screen. The human warship showed scars on its hull. Some plates looked mismatched, as if repaired many times. Its weapons were cold. No shields were visible. The ship did not change course or speed. It simply floated, silent and still. Varex leaned back and gave a soft laugh. Humans were new to the stars. Their story spoke of bravery, but also of limits. This ship clearly showed those limits. Varex ordered the fleet to slow down. He wanted to enjoy this moment. A simple show of power would be enough. The alien science officer reported more details. The human ship was running on low energy output. Its engine was old. Its armor readings were strange, uneven, and weak. The officer suggested caution, but Varex dismissed it. He had seen fear disguised as caution many times before. To him, this ship was already defeated. He decided to test it. Not a full attack, just a small warning shot. Something to scare the humans and force surrender. Varex wanted the humans to understand their place in the galaxy. A single alien escort ship moved forward. Its weapon charged and fired a narrow energy beam. The beam struck the human ship directly in the center. There was no explosion, no flash of light. The human ship did not move. It did not spin or break apart. The beam faded, leaving the ship exactly as it was before. The bridge went quiet. The science officer checked the readings again. The impact had been real. The weapon had hit with enough force to melt metal, but the human ship showed no damage at all. Varex frowned. He ordered a second scan. The results confused everyone. The hull temperature had not changed. The armor strength now read higher than before. That made no sense. Armor did not grow stronger after being hit. Some crew members shifted in unease. The human ship still did nothing. No return fire. No message. No movement. Its silence felt heavy, almost watching. Varex felt a small spark of irritation. He did not like being confused. He ordered a stronger attack, still limited. Another escort fired, then another. 3 beams struck the human ship from different angles. Again, nothing happened. The ship absorbed the hits as if they were harmless light. The space around it shimmered for a brief moment, like heat above a desert. Then it was gone. The human ship remained calm and silent. The alien crew began to whisper. This was no longer amusing. This was strange. The science officer spoke carefully. He said the sensors were acting oddly. The size of the human ship seemed to change slightly with each scan. Sometimes it appeared smaller, sometimes larger. Its mass readings were unstable. The energy around it was rising, but slowly, in a controlled way. Varex felt a tightness in his chest. He told himself it was nothing. Humans use tricks. Old tricks. Still, he ordered the fleet to raise shields, just in case. On the human warship, the bridge was quiet as well. Captain Elias Rourke stood with his hands behind his back. His face showed no fear. He had seen this moment many times in simulations and history lessons. The alien fleet moved exactly as expected. The first weak attack. The second stronger test. Humans had learned long ago that silence could be a weapon. The crew waited for his command, but he gave none. The ship's systems adjusted automatically, adapting to each strike. The ancient hull was not weak. It was layered with technology far beyond what it showed. Back on the alien flagship, Varex felt his confidence crack. He ordered full scans of the human ship's weapon ports. They appeared closed and active. That made it worse. Why would a weak ship refuse to defend itself? The alien commander considered destroying it completely. One full volley would erase it, he told himself. But doubt had entered his thoughts. He remembered stories of species that hid strength behind weakness. He hated those stories. Varex decided on one final test. A focused strike, stronger than before, but not fatal. If the ship broke, the mystery would end. If it survived, he would change plans. The weapon fired. The beam struck, brighter and hotter than all the others. Space bent slightly around the point of impact. For a brief second, the human ship disappeared behind light. When the glow faded, the ship was still there. Not damaged, not even moved. The alien bridge fell into complete silence. Then something new appeared on the scanners. The human ship's power output began to rise. Slowly, steadily. Not like a panic response, but like a decision. Varric stared at the screen as the readings climbed higher than expected. The ship was no longer hiding its strength. It was waking up. The human warship finally turned, just a little, to face the alien flagship directly. Still no weapons fired. Still no message sent. For the first time in many cycles, Commander Varric felt fear. He realized the mistake was not the human ship's presence in this sector. The mistake was believing that weakness was real. The alien fleet drifted in tense formation as the human warship slowly turned to face them. Commander Varric watched the movement with narrowed eyes. The ship's turn was smooth and controlled, not the motion of a damaged or desperate vessel. Its engine still showed low output, yet the movement felt heavy, as if the ship carried more mass than space itself could explain. The bridge crew waited for orders, but Varric remained silent. He wanted to see what the humans would do next. The silence from the human ship pressed against the alien bridge, like unseen weight. The science officer spoke again, his voice less confident than before. He reported that the human ship's energy levels were still rising, but very slowly. There were no spikes, no wild surges. Everything about the increase felt measured. The ship was choosing how much power to show. That thought disturbed Varric. Powerful ships usually displayed strength openly. They threatened, they boasted, they demanded surrender. This ship did none of those things. It simply existed, calm and patient, as if time itself favored it. Varric finally gave an order. He commanded the fleet to fire a coordinated strike, stronger than before, but spread across multiple ships. He told himself this was not fear, only logic. If the ship was hiding strength, it would reveal itself now. Beams of energy crossed the darkness together and struck the human warship from all sides. The impact lit the area with brief flashes. Again, there was no explosion. The human ship did not break. The space around it shimmered once more, wider this time, like a clear shield bending reality itself. The alien bridge filled with alarm tones. Several weapon systems reported reduced output. Some targeting sensors lost lock on the human ship entirely. The science officer rushed to adjust readings, but the data refused to settle. The ship's outline blurred on the main screen, not visually, but in measurement. Distance readings changed by small amounts, as if the ship was both closer and farther away at the same time. Varric felt a cold sensation along his spine. This was not human technology as he understood it. On the human warship, Captain Rourke watched the data scroll calmly. His crew remained steady at their stations. No one shouted. No one panicked. They had trained for this kind of encounter. The ship's adaptive systems continued to learn from each alien strike, refining defenses in silence. Rourke knew the aliens were confused. Confusion created hesitation, and hesitation created control. He allowed the power output to rise a little more, just enough to be noticed. Still no weapons were armed. Still no message was sent. Back on the alien flagship, Varric slammed a clawed hand onto the command surface. He demanded answers. The science officer admitted the truth. He said they could no longer be sure what they were seeing. The human ship's structure appeared layered beyond standard scans. There were hidden fields within fields, systems wrapped inside systems. It was like looking at a simple shell that contained something vast. Varric felt anger mixed with unease. He had underestimated this enemy, and now his fleet was paying the price. One of the alien captains suggested retreat. The word echoed through the bridge like an insult. Varric rejected it instantly. Retreat from one ship was unthinkable. Yet even as he dismissed the idea, he felt doubt growing. The human ship had not attacked. It had not threatened. It had only endured. That endurance felt more dangerous than any weapon. Varex ordered a probe drone to be launched, hoping for close-range data. The drone moved toward the human ship cautiously. As it crossed an invisible boundary, its signals began to distort. Images twisted. Data packets arrived out of order. Then the drone simply vanished. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. The bridge fell silent once more. Varex stared at the empty space, where the drone had been. His crew avoided his gaze. The human ship remained motionless, as if nothing had happened. Then, at last, something changed. A signal appeared on the alien communication array. It was weak, narrow, and precisely aimed. The human ship was transmitting. The alien translators struggled to lock onto the signal. The language was structured, calm, and strangely simple. No threats. No demands. Just a single line repeated slowly, giving the system time to understand. When the translation finally appeared, it unsettled everyone on the bridge. The message was short. It did not sound like a warning or a plea. It sounded like a statement of fact. The human ship identified itself as a patrol vessel. It stated that this region was under human observation. It advised the alien fleet to reconsider its actions. There was no anger in the words. No pride. Just certainty. Varex read the message again and again. Patrol vessel. The word echoed in his mind. If this was only a patrol ship, what else did humans have? Before Varex could respond, the signal ended. The human ship returned to silence. Its power output stabilized, holding at a level far above what the aliens had first detected. Not rising. Not falling. Waiting. Varex realized then that the humans were not reacting anymore. They were allowing the aliens to act, to choose their next move. The balance had shifted without a single shot fired in return. The alien commander felt a tight grip of fear he could no longer deny. He had believed weakness was something you could see. Cracks in armor. Old designs. Silence. Now he understood the truth. Sometimes silence was not the absence of power. Sometimes it was control. And as the human warship faced his fleet without fear, Commander Varex began to understand that the real test had only just begun. The alien bridge remained quiet after the human message ended. Commander Varex stared at the data panel, replaying the words again in his mind. A patrol vessel. The phrase felt wrong. Patrol ships were small, weak, and easily replaced. They were not ships that faced fleets and survived without effort. His instincts told him the humans were lying, using words as another weapon. He refused to believe that this silent giant was anything less than a main warship. Still, doubt crept deeper into his thoughts. The science officer continued to analyze the signal. He reported that the transmission was extremely clean and efficient. There was no wasted energy, no emotional tone, no hidden threat markers. It was as if the humans expected to be understood and obeyed without force. That idea angered Varex. No species spoke with such calm authority unless they believed they had absolute control. He clenched his claws and ordered the fleet to hold position while he decided their next move. Around the human ship, space itself seemed different. Minor distortions appeared and vanished without pattern. Alien sensors struggled to lock onto fixed points. Timestamps drifted by tiny margins. These were not weapon effects. They felt like environmental changes, as if the ship carried its own rules with it. The science officer warned that prolonged exposure could damage their systems. Varex ignored the warning. He would not withdraw based on fear and uncertainty. On the human bridge, Captain Rourke listened to the alien fleet's silence. He knew what it meant. Confusion was turning into pride, and pride often led to bad decisions. He allowed the ship's systems to remain visible at their current level. Enough to be seen, not enough to threaten. The crew trusted him completely. They had seen this pattern before in simulations and history. When a stronger force stayed quiet, weaker ones often chose violence to prove themselves. Varex finally made his decision. He ordered a full fleet attack. Not a cautious test. Not a warning. A real strike meant to overwhelm the human ship with sheer force. Hundreds of weapons charged at once. The alien fleet lit up space with power as beams and projectiles launched together. It was a display meant to crush hope and end resistance in seconds. Varex felt a grim satisfaction as the attack moved forward. Whatever the human ship truly was, it could not survive this. The human warship did not move. It did not raise visible shields. It did not fire back. As the first wave of weapons reached it, space folded gently around the hull. The attacks vanished. Not deflected. Not absorbed. Simply gone. The second wave followed, then the third. All met the same silent end. The human ship remained untouched, centered in a calm bubble where alien weapons could not exist. Alarms erupted across the alien fleet. Weapon systems overloaded. Power grids destabilized. Some ships lost internal gravity for brief moments. Others experienced sensor blindness. The science officers shouted reports faster than Varex could process them. The human ship's energy signature spiked for the first time, but not in a violent way. It was controlled, shaped, precise. Varex realized too late that the humans were not defending anymore. They were adjusting reality around themselves. Then the human ship sent another message. This time, the signal was stronger and clearer. The alien translators worked instantly. The words appeared on the main screen, simple and calm. The message stated that the human ship had tolerated the previous actions as misunderstanding. It stated that continued aggression would be treated as a deliberate threat. There was no anger in the message, no warning of destruction, just a clear line between mistake and choice. Varex felt humiliation burn through him. The humans were not afraid. They were disappointed. That feeling struck deeper than fear. He ordered his fleet to prepare another attack, but hesitation slowed his commands. Some captains delayed. Others questioned the order openly. The confidence that once filled the fleet was gone. In its place was uncertainty and growing dread. Before the aliens could act, something unexpected happened. The human ship moved. It did not accelerate or fire engines. It simply appeared closer, now directly aligned with the alien flagship. Distance readings collapsed into nonsense. The ship had crossed space, without crossing the space between. The bridge crew froze as the human vessel filled their view, massive and quiet, its hull showing layers and depth that scans could not measure. Inside the alien flagship, systems began shutting down one by one. Weapons powered off. Shields dropped. Engines fell silent. Life support remained active, but nothing else responded. Panic spread across the bridge. Varex tried to issue commands, but the controls no longer answered him. The human ship had taken control without firing a single shot. Another message arrived, private and direct, addressed only to the flagship. The translator displayed the words clearly. The humans stated they had no intention of destroying the fleet. They explained that destruction was inefficient and unnecessary. They had disabled the ships to prevent further mistakes. The message ended with a simple question. It asked whether the alien commander wished to continue the encounter or end it peacefully. Varex felt the weight of that question crush him. For the first time, the power balance was undeniable. The humans had not won through force alone. They had won through patience, restraint, and understanding of conflict deeper than weapons. As he looked at the silent human warship before him, Varex realized the truth he had failed to see from the beginning. The humans had never been weak. They had simply chosen when not to be strong. The alien flagship drifted powerless in the dark, surrounded by the quiet presence of the human warship. Commander Varex stood frozen on the bridge, staring at the systems that no longer responded to his commands. His fleet, once proud and ordered, now hung in space like discarded shells. Weapons were silent. Engines were dead. Only life support remained, as if the humans had carefully chosen what to leave untouched. The message from the human ship still glowed on the screen, waiting for his answer. Varex struggled with his thoughts. To answer was to admit defeat, yet to remain silent felt even worse. He had always believed that power was proven through destruction. Now he faced an enemy that proved power through control. He looked around at his crew. Fear was clear in their eyes, but so was a strange sense of relief. They were alive. The humans could have ended them already. That truth weighed heavily on him. On the human warship, Captain Rourke observed the alien flagship through layered sensor feeds. He could see the stalled power cores, the locked weapon ports, the frozen engine rings. Everything had gone exactly as planned. The ship's systems had awakened fully now, though from the outside it still appeared calm and simple. Deep within the hull, human technology worked silently, managing space, energy, and time with careful precision. Rourke did not feel pride. He felt responsibility. Varix finally ordered his communications officer to respond. The reply was slow and formal. He acknowledged the human message and requested clarification. He asked how one ship could disable an entire fleet without visible weapons. The question felt weak, but it was honest. When the response came, it was immediate. The humans explained that their technology did not focus on firepower alone. It focused on control of conditions. Weapons were only one tool. Environment was another. As the human spoke, the alien science officer listened closely. He realized that the human ship was not projecting shields in the way they understood. It was shaping the space around it, changing how energy behaved. Alien weapons failed not because they were blocked, but because they were never allowed to exist near the ship in the first place. The concept was frightening. It meant the humans could decide what actions were possible and which were not. Rourke ordered a limited system release. On the alien flagship, a single console flickered back to life. Then another. Basic navigation returned, though engines remained locked. The gesture was deliberate. It showed capability without threat. The human message followed, explaining that this was a demonstration, not an attack. Humans preferred understanding over fear, but they would not allow harm to continue unchecked. Varix listened in stunned silence. The humans spoke as if war was a lesson already learned, not a future challenge. He asked how long they had possessed such power. The reply was calm. The humans said they had developed it slowly, after centuries of conflict. They learned that winning battles was easy, but surviving peace was hard. Control, not destruction, kept civilizations alive. Around the alien fleet, systems began to stabilize. Power returned at minimal levels. Crews reported that panic was fading, replaced by cautious hope. The human ship remained in position, its presence steady and unchanging. Varix realized that the humans were guiding the situation, not forcing it. Every action was measured. Every choice left space for the aliens to respond without humiliation. The science officer quietly admitted that alien technology could not match what he was observing. Their weapons were strong, but simple. Their strategies relied on overwhelming force. The humans had moved beyond that stage. They had learned how to end fights before they truly began. Varix felt a deep sense of shame. His pride had led his fleet into danger, and only the mercy of another species had saved them. Rourke watched the alien commander carefully. He knew this moment mattered more than any battle. If fear ruled the aliens now, future conflict was certain. If understanding took root, there was hope. He sent one final message for this phase of the encounter. It stated that humans did not seek territory here. They sought awareness. This region was watched to prevent unchecked aggression. The humans invited dialogue, not surrender. Varix read the message slowly. He understood that the humans were offering something rare. Respect without dominance. Protection without chains. It challenged everything he believed about power. He turned to his crew and gave a quiet order. Stand down. Observe. Learn. The words felt strange, but right. For the first time in his command career, he was not preparing to win a war. He was trying to avoid one. As the alien fleet held position, the human warship reduced its visible energy output. From the outside, it once again appeared old and quiet. But Varix now knew the truth. Beneath the simple hull slept a force that did not need to prove itself. Human technology had awakened not to destroy, but to remind the galaxy that true strength did not always announce itself with fire and noise. The alien fleet remained still, but calm did not return. Commander Varix could feel fear moving through his ships like a silent signal. Reports came in from every vessel. Crews were restless. Officers whispered questions they were afraid to ask aloud. The human warship had done more damage without firing than any battle Varix had ever commanded. Confidence was gone, replaced by uncertainty that cut deeper than loss. The fleet had been built to fight, not to face something it could not touch. Varix ordered internal channels opened so he could address all ships. His voice was steady, but his words were careful. He told them the situation was under control. He reminded them that they were still alive, still armed in spirit if not in system. Yet even as he spoke, he knew the truth. Control no longer belonged to him alone. The humans had it, and they did not need to claim it loudly. Across the fleet, alien captains reviewed their data again and again. Weapon systems showed normal function, yet refused to activate. Engines were powered, yet could not engage. It was as if invisible hands rested on every critical system, allowing movement only when permitted. The science teams worked without pause, but every explanation failed. The human technology did not break their systems. It simply stood above them, ignoring rules the aliens thought were universal. On the human warship, Captain Rourke observed the growing tension. He could see changes in fleet behavior, small movements, altered formations, nervous energy spikes. Fear was spreading, exactly as expected. Fear could lead to two outcomes: retreat or desperation. One was safe, the other was dangerous. Rourke adjusted the ship's presence slightly, allowing more space distortion to fade. He wanted to reduce pressure without losing authority. Varix noticed a change immediately. The human ship seemed quieter now, less heavy. Some alien systems responded more freely. He understood the message. The humans were easing their grip, testing whether the aliens would act wisely. Varix knew this was his chance to prevent disaster, but fear made decisions slow. Several captains sent private messages to him, urging retreat. Others argued for one final attack, believing death was better than humiliation. Before Varix could answer them, an alert sounded. One alien cruiser on the edge of the formation had powered its engines. The ship turned away from the fleet, moving toward open space. Its captain had chosen escape. The moment the ship crossed a certain distance, its signal vanished. No explosion appeared. No wreckage followed. The ship was simply gone, erased from sensors as if it had never existed. A wave of panic followed. Crews shouted. Officers demanded explanations. Varix felt his chest tighten. The human ship had not moved. It had not fired. Yet it had allowed the escape attempt to end without warning. The message was clear. Leaving without permission was not an option. Safety existed only within the rules the humans set. Fear deepened, no longer sharp but heavy, pressing on every mind. Rourke watched the disappearance with regret. He had not ordered destruction. The ship had entered a region of controlled space, where unstable conditions existed. The result was unavoidable. Still, he knew how it would look to the aliens. Fear would grow, but so would understanding. Actions had consequences, even without intent. He sent a quiet instruction to stabilize the field further, preventing any repeat. Varix took a long breath and made his decision. He opened a direct channel to the human warship. His tone was formal and restrained. He acknowledged the loss of the escaping ship and accepted responsibility. He stated that no further movement would occur without communication. The words tasted bitter, but necessary. Almost immediately, a response came. The humans acknowledged his message and confirmed that stability had been increased. The exchange was simple, calm, and respectful. That calm response shook the alien fleet more than anger would have. The humans were not reacting emotionally. They were managing a situation like experienced guardians, not conquerors. Fear began to change shape. It became caution, curiosity, even quiet respect. Some alien officers began to ask different questions. Not how to fight, but how to understand. Inside the flagship, the science officer spoke softly to Varix. He admitted that human control over space itself suggested a level of advancement far beyond military focus. This was not technology built only for war. It was built for survival in a dangerous universe. Varix listened and felt a strange realization form. The humans were not afraid of alien fleets, because fleets were not the greatest threat. Chaos was. Rourke reviewed the data and allowed himself a moment of relief. The aliens were stabilizing. No new aggressive actions appeared. He knew this phase was critical. If fear settled into obedience alone, resentment would follow. He prepared the next step carefully. Education, not dominance. He sent a message offering shared data, limited but meaningful, explaining the controlled space fields and their purpose. Not instructions, but insight. Varix received the data and studied it in silence. The humans were opening a door, just enough to show what lay beyond without forcing entry. He understood now that fear had spread through his fleet, because power had been revealed without cruelty. That kind of power changed how enemies thought. As he looked at the quiet human warship holding his entire fleet without effort, Varex accepted a truth he could no longer deny. The galaxy was not ruled by the loudest force. It was shaped by those who understood when not to use it. The alien fleet held its position in uneasy silence. Fear had settled into something colder and more thoughtful. Commander Varex studied the shared data the humans had sent. It was limited, carefully chosen, but enough to change how he saw the situation. The human technology was not designed to win battles quickly. It was designed to prevent them from ever reaching that point. Varex felt a heavy understanding form in his mind. His fleet had crossed into a space where violence was not the strongest option. Across the alien ships, crews began to calm. Panic gave way to disciplined restraint. Officers repeated the human message to their teams, explaining the rules of the controlled space. No weapons, no engine jumps, no sudden movements. Survival depended on cooperation. Some still felt anger, but most felt relief. The humans were not hunting them. They were containing a problem, and the problem was uncontrolled aggression. On the human warship, Captain Rourke prepared the next step. He knew silence alone would no longer guide the situation. Understanding required words. He ordered a new transmission, one broader and more direct than before. The signal carried not just language, but context, emotional markers tuned for alien perception. It was not a threat. It was a warning shaped by experience. The message reached every alien ship at once. It explained the humans had once believed strength meant dominance. They had built weapons larger and faster than any enemy. They had won wars and lost themselves in the process. The warning was simple. Violence solved problems quickly, but it created more than it ended. Humans had learned this lesson through loss, not theory. That was why they now controlled conflict instead of feeding it. Varex listened carefully. The warning did not blame the aliens. It did not shame them. It spoke as one warrior to another, across the long distance of experience. The humans admitted their own mistakes openly. That honesty unsettled Varex more than any display of power. It was rare for a dominant force to speak of failure without weakness. He felt the weight of responsibility shift onto his shoulders. As the message continued, the humans explained the rule of response. If the alien fleet chose peace, they would be guided safely out of the sector. If they chose aggression, the humans would end the encounter quickly and completely. No escalation, no drawn-out war, just a final decision. The warning was calm, not dramatic. That calm made it absolute. Across the fleet, captains gathered their senior officers. Debates began, but they were different now. There was no talk of victory, only of survival and future consequences. Some argued that accepting human control meant surrendering honor. Others pointed out that destruction served no honor at all. The loss of the escaping ship weighed heavily in every discussion. The humans had not destroyed it in anger. They had simply allowed reality to act. That difference mattered. Varex called his senior command council together. He spoke plainly. He admitted his mistake in underestimating the humans. He acknowledged that pride had brought them to the edge of disaster. The council listened in silence. None challenged him. They had all felt the same fear and the same realization. The galaxy was larger and more dangerous than their doctrines allowed. On the human bridge, Rourke watched the alien fleet's internal communications. He saw the shift clearly. Arguments slowed. Signals steadied. Decision pathways narrowed. The warning had landed where it needed to. Now the aliens would choose, not under fire, but under understanding. This was the moment humans preferred. Choice without pressure revealed true intent. Then an alert appeared. A new energy buildup flared briefly within the alien formation. One ship, then another, charging weapons without authorization. Rogue captains, driven by fear or pride, had decided to act. Rourke did not hesitate. He ordered a targeted response. The controlled space fields tightened instantly around the offending ships. Their weapon charges collapsed into harmless energy bleed. Power systems shut down completely. The ships were frozen, isolated, and silent. The human warning repeated, this time focused only on the remaining fleet. It stated that unauthorized aggression would not be tolerated. It clarified that restraint protected everyone, while disobedience endangered all. The tone remained calm, but final. Varix felt both relief and dread. The humans had drawn a clear line, and they enforced it without cruelty or delay. Varix addressed the fleet one final time. His voice carried authority tempered by humility. He ordered all ships to stand down and comply fully. No one argued. The moment passed without further incident. The rogue ships remained frozen, their crews alive but powerless. The rest of the fleet held steady, united at last by a shared understanding. As silence returned, Varix felt a strange clarity. The human warning had not been about control alone. It had been about responsibility. Power without restraint destroyed itself. The humans had learned that lesson the hard way, and now they carried it like a shield instead of a sword. As he looked toward the silent human warship, Varix knew the encounter had crossed a point of no return. Whatever came next would shape not just his fleet, but how his people understood strength forever. The alien fleet hung in tense silence, but the calm was fragile. Commander Varix had regained control over some systems, yet the feeling of uncertainty lingered like a shadow across every ship. Every officer knew that the humans were no longer holding back. They had been patient, but patience had limits. On the human warship, Captain Rourke finally gave the command that had been anticipated for cycles. Engage. The word was quiet, almost casual, but the effect was instantaneous and catastrophic for the alien fleet. Without warning, the human warship activated its main systems fully. The energy around the ship shimmered and pulsed, bending the space around it in a way no alien sensor could interpret. Beams of light, faint and silent, began to form around the hull. They were not directed weapons, but rather control fields, shaping space and energy, disabling systems without direct destruction. Alien ships experienced sudden shutdowns. Weapons failed mid-charge. Engines sputtered and went cold. Shield systems flickered and vanished. The fleet was not being attacked, it was being contained. Panic erupted across the alien bridge. Officers screamed reports, but no solution came. The human ship moved slowly, almost lazily, toward the center of the alien formation. Its motion was deliberate, controlled, and terrifying. Varix barked orders for evasive maneuvers, but the ships did not respond. Some engines failed entirely. Others attempted to move, but were caught in subtle distortions in space that pulled them in unpredictable directions. The fleet formation collapsed within minutes. The humans had not fired a single weapon directly, yet every ship was immobilized, caught in fields they could not fight. On the human bridge, Rourke watched the effects calmly. He had planned this phase meticulously. The alien fleet's panic was expected and controlled. He allowed some ships to regain minimal function only to witness their reactions. Fear grew, then desperation, and finally a subtle understanding that their choices now determined survival. The humans targeted only systems that could cause harm if misused. No crew was injured. No life was taken. It was a demonstration of absolute control without unnecessary destruction. Varix felt anger mixed with fear. His pride demanded retaliation, yet every action he attempted failed. The fleet's strongest weapons had become useless. Communication systems were jammed. Even his flagship's engines moved sluggishly, constrained by invisible forces he could not override. He realized that the human ship did not need to attack to win. Every command he issued only confirmed his helplessness. The humans had redefined what it meant to fight. Alien captains whispered among themselves. Some suggested surrender immediately. Others still refused to believe they could be stopped without direct fire. But as minutes passed, the evidence was undeniable. The human warship remained calm, precise, and unthreatened. It moved as if space itself belonged to it, bending energy and time in ways alien science could not explain. Panic became collective. Fear spread faster than orders. Even the bravest warriors began to doubt their own strength. Rourke allowed the human ship to advance closer. It did not ram or fire. Instead, its presence alone caused alien ships to falter. Varix's flagship drifted to a stop, engines powerless. Beams of energy collapsed mid-charge. Weapons were trapped in loops, unable to release. The humans had not yet struck, and already they controlled the battlefield. Varix realized then that their strategy was not destruction. It was proof. Humanity did not fight like others. They fought smarter, faster, without unnecessary risk. The human warship finally released a subtle wave of controlled energy toward the alien flagship. It was not an attack. It was an assertion of dominance over systems. The flagship's internal structure shivered. Systems blinked off, then stabilized only under human influence. The crew froze at their stations, unable to act. Varix's voice cracked as he tried to regain authority. His orders were ignored not because of defiance, but because they physically could not be executed. The human ship had rewritten reality around them. Then, for the first time, direct communication came. The human captain's voice, calm and neutral, reached the alien flagship. "Commander Varix," the message said, "your fleet is not destroyed because we do not wish it. You are alive because restraint protects all. Any further action may end it differently. Choose wisely." The words carried no threat, only certainty. They were final, leaving no room for argument or misunderstanding. Varix felt a chill. The humans had won without firing a single destructive shot. The alien fleet, immobilized and terrified, now faced a choice. They could obey and survive, or resist and face consequences they could not predict. Fear had transformed into respect, and that respect carried power. Varix realized that the humans were teaching a lesson far larger than combat. Strength was not measured in firepower or fleet size. It was measured in control, strategy, and the ability to enforce consequences without unnecessary destruction. Across the human bridge, Rourke watched the alien flagship carefully. He allowed minimal adjustments to fleet positions, ensuring no accidents occurred. The humans were not monsters. They were teachers. The alien crews slowly grasped the lesson. Weapons offline, engines stalled, and shields useless. They understood that survival depended entirely on restraint, understanding, and acknowledgement of power beyond their comprehension. Varix swallowed hard. He opened a private channel to the human ship, hands shaking. We yield," he said. The words felt bitter, almost shameful, but necessary. The human captain's reply was simple. "Acknowledged. Your fleet will remain intact. Learn from this encounter." Relief and disbelief washed over the alien bridge simultaneously. The human warship had achieved total victory without a single destructive strike. As the alien fleet stabilized under human control, Rourke reflected silently. This demonstration was more than a battle. It was a message to all species in the sector. Humanity did not need to fight like others to protect itself. Silence, patience, and precise control were enough to shape outcomes, prevent unnecessary destruction, and ensure survival. Varix, staring at the human ship, understood the magnitude of the lesson. The humans had rewritten what it meant to be powerful in the galaxy. For the first time, the alien commanders truly feared what they did not fully understand. The human warship stood alone, quiet, restrained, and absolute. And in that quiet, the galaxy itself seemed to bend, acknowledging the presence of a force that refused to be underestimated, a power that waited, calculated, and struck only when necessary. The alien flagship drifted in stunned silence, surrounded by the rest of the immobilized fleet. Commander Varix could feel the weight of the human warship's presence pressing on every sensor, every system, and every mind aboard his vessel. No weapon had fired, no shields had clashed, and yet the humans had proven dominance beyond any combat scenario Varix had ever faced. Fear and awe intertwined within him. He realized that the humans were not merely a species to be conquered. They were something far beyond his understanding. On the human bridge, Captain Rourke remained calm, watching the alien vessels through layered sensors. His ship appeared quiet and unassuming to those who looked at it. Yet beneath the surface, every system operated at peak efficiency. Energy flowed and shifted with precision, controlled fields bending the very environment around them. Rourke knew that the aliens would eventually seek answers. The truth could not be hidden forever. He began preparing for controlled communication, intending to teach rather than intimidate, to reveal the lessons humanity had learned without unnecessary confrontation. Commander Varix hesitated before opening the communication channel. His hands hovered over the console, unsure whether he wanted to speak or simply wait for the inevitable human action. Finally, he activated the channel. The human voice came through, steady and neutral. "Commander Verex, your fleet has been observed, contained, and given the opportunity to choose. Your species has shown courage, yet also recklessness. The survival of your people now depends on understanding why humans endure where others fail." The tone was calm but absolute, leaving no doubt that the humans controlled the encounter entirely. Verex struggled to comprehend. Why do you not destroy us?" he asked, voice tight. "You could annihilate us in moments, yet you allow us to survive." Silence followed for a moment, then Rourke's voice returned, measured and deliberate. "Because destruction solves nothing. It ends life, but does not teach restraint. Humanity has learned that power without control leads to ruin. We do not destroy to prove strength. We endure, adapt, and correct errors before they escalate." The answer was simple, yet it carried the weight of centuries of experience. The alien science officer attempted to explain what he observed in technical terms, but even he struggled. Human technology did not operate on conventional mechanics alone. It altered the environment itself, bending energy, space, and reaction outcomes to maintain balance. Weapons that should have destroyed the fleet had failed not due to shields or armor, but because the humans had chosen conditions where their use was impossible. Energy readings shifted subtly. Fields of control rearranged reality, and every action by the alien ships became predictable without being forced. The humans had created a system where they could act freely while others could not. Verex realized the magnitude of the situation. Humanity had survived countless wars, conflicts, and near-extinction events. They had faced threats far greater than his fleet, and had emerged not by overwhelming force alone, but through strategy, restraint, and discipline. Their history, though unknown to him in detail, had forged a species capable of controlling outcomes rather than reacting blindly. This was not arrogance, it was mastery. His fleet had underestimated a species that had learned lessons the universe itself would never forget. The human warship shifted slightly, aligning itself directly with Verex's flagship. The movement was deliberate but unthreatening, a display of presence rather than aggression. "Commander," Rourke continued, "humanity's strength is not measured by destruction alone. It is measured by patience, foresight, and the ability to act without provoking chaos. Our wars have taught us that quick victories often lead to longer suffering. We endure because we choose to survive with understanding, not because we dominate without purpose." Verex could feel the truth settling over his bridge. Every officer aboard his flagship understood that their situation had changed fundamentally. This was not a conventional battle. It was a lesson, one that could not be unlearned. The alien fleet had come seeking advantage, expecting weakness, and found something far beyond their calculations. The humans had proven that survival, control, and power were intertwined in ways the aliens had never imagined. Rourke allowed a pause before continuing. "We do not seek conquest. We do not seek vengeance. We act to preserve life and maintain balance. Aggression is tolerated only when it threatens the continuation of others. Your fleet has been given a choice. You may continue to resist, but understand that any further action will meet a measured response. We do not act from anger, but from necessity." The calm authority in his voice carried more weight than any barrage of weapons ever could. Verex swallowed hard. "And if we accept your lesson," he asked cautiously, "if we yield to your terms?" Rourke's response was simple. "Then you live. You learn. You continue your species without unnecessary destruction. Understanding is more powerful than fear. Adaptation is stronger than violence. That is the truth of humanity." The words echoed across the alien fleet, reaching every officer and crew member. Even the most defiant among them could feel the force of the lesson without resistance. Inside the alien flagship, Verex finally allowed himself a long exhale. He looked at his fleet, still immobilized but intact. The humans had proven superiority not through war, but through mastery of survival, control, and calculated response. For the first time, Verex felt humility alongside fear. The truth of humanity was not only in their technology or their tactics. It was in their mindset. They had learned to endure, to act with purpose, and to maintain balance even in the presence of overwhelming threats. The alien fleet slowly began to comprehend. The lesson would not be forgotten. Every commander aboard every ship felt it, even if they did not fully understand the mechanics behind the human warship's control. Humanity had not fought with violence alone. They had fought with strategy, foresight, and restraint. And that fight, though silent, had left every alien aware that underestimating humans was the gravest mistake a species could make. Captain Rourke watched in quiet satisfaction as Varex transmitted acknowledgement. The aliens had accepted the message. The fleet would withdraw, guided and contained until they were clear of human-controlled space. No casualties, no destruction, and no compromise to human principles. Humanity had shown strength without cruelty. They had proved that true power lay not in weapons, but in the ability to survive, adapt, and enforce balance without unnecessary chaos. As the alien ships began to drift away under controlled conditions, Rourke allowed himself a brief glance at the stars beyond. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but the humans had shown that they could endure any threat. They did not conquer blindly, nor did they provoke unnecessary conflict. Humanity's lesson was clear. Strength was silent, patience was deadly, and survival was measured not by what was destroyed, but by what was preserved. In that quiet, the truth of humanity stood absolute, undeniable, and unchallenged. The alien fleet hung in uneasy formation, powerless and wary, while the human warship maintained its calm presence at the center. Commander Varex studied his fleet, each vessel frozen in place or barely functioning. His officers whispered among themselves, debating the next move. Some suggested full surrender, others urged caution, and a few still wanted to resist despite the futility. The humans had made it clear, aggression would not be tolerated, but cooperation would be rewarded. The choice lay squarely with the alien commander, and the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. On the human bridge, Captain Rourke observed the alien deliberations. He could see hesitation, confusion, and pride intermingling in their communications. This was expected. The lesson of restraint and controlled power was only effective if the aliens made the choice themselves. Humans did not force compliance through destruction. They allowed others to reach the proper understanding on their own. Rourke adjusted the warship's energy field slightly, creating a subtle presence that reminded the alien fleet of their current vulnerability. Varex finally addressed his command council. His voice was steady, though it carried the tension of realization. He reminded them of the losses they had already suffered, not in lives, but in control and authority. Their pride had been shattered. Their systems had failed them under human influence. He asked them to weigh their options carefully. Continue aggression and face certain consequences, or yield and survive. The discussion was tense. Officers debated not just survival but honor, questioning whether compliance would stain their legacy. As the deliberation continued, sensors detected a new alien fleet approaching the sector. Reports indicated hundreds of ships, larger and more heavily armed than Varex's own. Panic rippled through the ranks. These new vessels had no knowledge of the situation ahead, and they would act under old doctrines, unaware of the humans' capabilities. Varex understood immediately. If these reinforcements attacked recklessly, they would face the same fate his fleet had narrowly avoided. He realized the choice he made now could save, or doom thousands of lives. Rourke detected the incoming fleet as well. He activated additional stabilization fields around his ship and the frozen alien vessels. The new fleet would soon arrive, and humans could not allow unnecessary casualties. He calculated the risks, determining how much influence to exert without causing damage. The human ship moved subtly, positioning itself between the incoming fleet and Varex's forces. Energy patterns expanded and warped slightly, enough to prevent aggressive maneuvers, while keeping systems intact. The humans had not attacked. They had controlled the battlefield entirely. Varex weighed the new threat. The arriving fleet would not understand diplomacy or restraint. They would assume that Varex's forces were weak or defeated. A direct assault was almost guaranteed. He realized that the humans had given him not only a choice but a responsibility. He could either accept human guidance, preserve life, and teach restraint to his reinforcements, or defy the lesson and invite destruction. His pride resisted the idea of yielding, yet logic, fear, and experience pressed him toward cooperation. The alien council argued again. Some members insisted that surrender would mark them forever as weak. Others pointed out that their technology was useless against humans' control fields. Resistance would be futile. Casualties were inevitable. After long deliberation, Varex made his decision. He chose survival. He would yield, accept the humans' lesson, and guide his fleet accordingly. The decision was difficult but necessary. He activated the communications channel to Rourke. "Captain Rourke," Varex began, his voice firm but laced with unease. "We acknowledge your authority. We yield. We accept your terms and request guidance for safe withdrawal of my fleet. May your wisdom be known to those who follow." The words echoed through the silent alien bridge, a mixture of relief and humility. Rourke responded calmly. "Acknowledged, Commander Varex. Your fleet will be guided safely. This encounter is not meant to shame, but to teach understanding. The choice you made reflects responsibility and ensures survival." With the decision made, the human warship adjusted its energy fields. Subtle distortions enveloped the alien fleet, stabilizing all systems to prevent accident or panic. The frozen ships reactivated slowly under human control, allowing crews to regain minimal function. No weapons were recharged, no engines fired. The humans were demonstrating a balance between guidance and restraint, teaching survival without coercion or fear. Every officer aboard Varex's flagship understood that true strength lay in this careful moderation. As the alien fleet began the withdrawal, Varex sent instructions to the incoming reinforcements. He warned them of the human presence and the potential consequences of aggression. His words carried authority, born not of pride but of experience and survival. He directed them to hold position and communicate, ensuring that no accidental encounter would occur. The humans had not demanded this. Varex had chosen it himself, demonstrating that the lesson extended beyond immediate control to influence future decisions. Rourke observed the departure of both fleets. He allowed minimal adjustment of fields to ensure smooth navigation. His focus remained on teaching, not punishing. The humans had enforced restraint, established dominance, and preserved life. The alien fleets had been given a choice, and had chosen cooperation. That choice was the true victory. Strength had been demonstrated not through firepower, but through controlled, deliberate action and the wisdom to allow others the opportunity to learn. As the alien ships retreated into the sector, stabilized and unharmed, Varex reflected on the encounter. Humanity had not conquered them. They had shown them the consequences of unchecked aggression and the value of measured action. The fleet survived, the crews were intact, and the lesson had been learned. The galaxy itself seemed quieter, as if acknowledging the human warship's silent authority. Commander Varex understood that from this moment forward, all interactions with humanity would require respect, foresight, and a willingness to learn. The human warship remained at the center, calm and unyielding, a quiet sentinel in the dark void of space. Captain Rourke allowed the ship to rest, monitoring the departing fleets while preparing for any unexpected actions. Humanity had proven that restraint could be more powerful than destruction, that patience could be stronger than fear, and that survival depended on understanding, not force. For Varex and his fleet, the lesson was clear. The choice between peace or destruction had been made, and humanity had won without ever firing a shot. The alien fleets had begun their careful withdrawal, stabilized under human guidance, yet the galaxy remained tense and uncertain. Commander Varex's flagship moved cautiously, engines humming at minimal output, weapons offline, and crews silently absorbing the lesson humanity had enforced. Despite the retreat, a sense of awe lingered across the ranks. Every officer aboard every ship knew they had encountered a force unlike any they had faced before. The human warship at the center remained calm, unthreatening in appearance, yet its presence radiated undeniable authority and control. On the human bridge, Captain Rourke observed the departing fleets with quiet precision. He allowed minimal energy adjustments, just enough to maintain influence over the sector. The humans did not need to strike. They had already demonstrated absolute dominance through restraint and controlled power. Rourke knew that the galaxy was watching. Every action, every subtle shift in energy fields, was proof that humanity could control outcomes without destruction. It was a demonstration meant to establish understanding, not fear. Yet the humans were not finished. In a deliberate move, Rourke ordered the warship to release a controlled pulse of energy into the surrounding space. The pulse was subtle, imperceptible to those without advanced sensors, but it reinforced the fields that had immobilized the alien fleets. Some ships attempted to adjust their positions, but the pulse ensured compliance, demonstrating humanity's ability to enforce balance across vast distances. The message was clear. Humanity could act decisively if necessary, but chose measured control over indiscriminate violence. Varex felt the weight of this control as he monitored his flagship systems. The alien fleet's engines and weapons were still operational, yet every action was constrained by invisible boundaries. Every movement required consideration. The humans had not destroyed them, but they had proven that survival depended on obedience, understanding, and restraint. Varex realized that the lesson extended beyond the immediate encounter. Future fleets would have to acknowledge the power humans could exert without ever firing a single weapon. Rourke allowed the human ship to advance slowly, moving into a position where it could monitor the sector entirely. Energy fields expanded subtly around the alien fleets, ensuring stability and preventing accidental escalation. Varex and his officers observed every detail, understanding that this display was not aggression but demonstration. Humanity had created a situation where they could act decisively, intervene if necessary, and maintain balance without unnecessary destruction. It was a control that alien technology alone could not replicate. The alien fleets began to respond cautiously to the humans' controlled presence. Communications flowed through secure channels, officers asking questions, requesting clarification, and reporting compliance. The humans responded with measured guidance, offering insight into the mechanisms of their control fields and the logic behind their restraint. There was no condescension, no arrogance, only clarity and authority. Varex realized that this exchange was teaching far more than compliance. It was imparting understanding. Suddenly, sensors detected a rogue element within one of the retreating fleets. A small squadron, driven by pride and fear, had attempted unauthorized maneuvers. Without hesitation, the human warship adjusted the fields around the squadron, immobilizing them instantly. Systems shut down, engines halted, and weapons froze mid-charge. The humans had not destroyed them. They had merely enforced boundaries. The squadron was alive, unharmed, yet incapable of acting outside the rules set by the humans. This demonstration reinforced the lesson across every alien vessel. Survival required adherence to the principles humanity had established. Varex realized the magnitude of what had occurred. Humanity had not needed to fire a single destructive shot to assert dominance. They had leveraged patience, precision, and strategic control to neutralize a fleet far larger and more advanced than themselves. Every officer aboard the alien ships understood the lesson, even if they did not fully comprehend the underlying technology. Humanity's restraint had proven stronger than force. Their patience had outweighed aggression, and their understanding of balance had reshaped the battlefield without spilling blood. On the human bridge, Rourke observed the final adjustments. The alien fleets were contained, stabilized, and moving in accordance with human guidance. The rogue squadron had been neutralized, and no further attempts at aggression were detected. Humanity had unleashed its full capability in a controlled manner, demonstrating the devastating potential of their technology and strategy while preserving life. It was a victory without destruction, a triumph of restraint over recklessness. Varex transmitted a final acknowledgement to the human ship. His voice was solemn but clear. "Captain Rourke, your methods and your restraint have preserved countless lives. We understand the lesson and accept the guidance provided. Humanity's strength is undeniable." Rourke responded calmly, acknowledged. Strength is measured not by destruction, but by the ability to endure, adapt, and enforce balance. Your fleet has survived because you chose to understand. Carry this lesson forward. The exchange left no ambiguity. Humanity had demonstrated supremacy without conquest, guidance without violence, and authority without arrogance. As the alien fleets withdrew further into safe space, Varex and his officers reflected on the encounter. Humanity had shown them a new definition of power, one that combined strategy, foresight, patience, and precise control. The warship's calm presence, subtle energy manipulations, and measured responses had rewritten the rules of engagement for the sector. No fleet would underestimate humans again. No officer would forget the lesson of restraint enforced with absolute certainty. Captain Rourke allowed the human ship to stabilize at the center of the sector, monitoring every vessel as they moved away. The galaxy had witnessed an unprecedented display of human capability, a demonstration of ultimate power exercised without unnecessary violence. The aliens had chosen cooperation and understanding, and through that choice, the humans had ensured the survival of life in the sector. Humanity had unleashed its full potential, not to destroy, but to teach, guide, and preserve. In the quiet of space, the human warship remained a sentinel, a symbol of measured strength. Captain Rourke reviewed the data, ensuring that no ship would act against the principles established in the encounter. The lesson was complete. Patience was more powerful than aggression, understanding more powerful than fear, and control more effective than chaos. Humanity had unleashed its true power, and the galaxy would remember it not for the destruction it could cause, but for the wisdom it had shown in using that power wisely. The alien fleets had finally withdrawn, moving cautiously under the guidance of the human warship. Commander Verex sat silently on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the glowing readings of energy fields, stabilized systems, and immobilized rogue squadrons. His officers were tense but alert, digesting the lessons of the encounter. The humans had demonstrated a level of control and foresight that went far beyond conventional understanding. They had won not through destruction, but through precision, patience, and the ability to shape outcomes without spilling a drop of blood. For the first time, Verex felt a deep humility, a recognition that his species had underestimated the true meaning of strength. On the human bridge, Captain Rourke monitored the departing fleets with calm satisfaction. Every ship was moving safely through the controlled sector, every crew intact, and every system stabilized. The humans had enforced restraint, demonstrated authority, and preserved life, while teaching a lesson that would resonate for generations. Rourke knew the encounter would not be forgotten. Stories of the human warship, its patient strategy, and its ability to dominate without violence would spread across the galaxy. Humanity had left a legacy far greater than victory in battle. They had left an enduring principle of survival through understanding. Verex began sending final reports to his command council. He explained the full scope of the human capabilities, from the control of energy fields to the subtle influence over alien systems. He recounted the immobilization of his fleet, the neutralization of rogue elements, and the careful guidance that ensured no life was lost. Officers listened in silence, realizing that this encounter had rewritten every tactical principle they had believed immutable. Humanity had proven that the strongest weapon was not firepower, but patience, restraint, and the intelligence to apply power only when necessary. Across the sector, sensors still registered the subtle distortions left by the human warship. Ships of other species, far beyond the immediate area, detected the energy shifts and paused in caution, sensing an unseen presence. Rourke knew that the humans' demonstration had reached far beyond their immediate targets. The principle had been established. Aggression would meet absolute, controlled response, while restraint and understanding would be preserved. The galaxy had been warned, and the warning carried authority that could not be questioned. Verex reflected on the moments when his fleet had been immobilized. The initial shock, the loss of control, the helplessness in the face of a force that refused to fight aggressively. It had all left a lasting impression. He had witnessed firsthand that power could exist without threat, that authority could be absolute without violence, and that survival required intelligence and discipline far beyond mere combat skill. He began issuing orders for his fleet to maintain communication protocols, to teach the principle of restraint, and to record the encounter as a lesson for future generations. On the human warship, Rourke allowed the ship to move slowly through space, monitoring alien fleets and ensuring that no accidental encounters occurred. The human crew remained calm and efficient, understanding that their role was not conquest but guardianship. Their technology allowed them to enforce rules without destruction, to guide without coercion, and to demonstrate power without fear. Every crew member understood that the encounter had proven a new model of engagement: survival through understanding, authority through restraint, and victory through wisdom rather than force. Varix contacted Rourke once more, his voice steady but reverent. "Captain, humanity has shown us a strength we cannot challenge and a lesson we cannot ignore. Your methods are unlike any we have encountered. We will transmit this experience to all fleets under our command, ensuring your message is understood. Humanity's legacy in this sector is undeniable." Rourke's reply was measured, simple, and authoritative. "Acknowledged. Legacy is built not through destruction, but through the survival and understanding of life. Remember this principle, and your species will endure." As the alien fleets moved farther away, stabilized and compliant, the human warship remained at the center, a quiet sentinel. Rourke reviewed the data one last time, ensuring that all energy fields, control measures, and monitoring systems were secure. Humanity had not only survived the encounter, they had shaped it. They had demonstrated the full measure of their power while preserving life, teaching restraint, and establishing a principle that would resonate for generations. The galaxy had learned that the humans' true strength lay not in their weapons, but in their ability to act with intelligence, patience, and foresight. Varex's fleet, humbled and awed, began to organize records of the encounter. Every detail would be studied, every tactic analyzed, and every principle of human control documented. Lessons learned here would be shared across sectors, influencing how future fleets approached not just humanity, but conflict itself. The encounter had proven that survival was dependent not on aggression, but on understanding the deeper rules of power, patience, and restraint. Humanity had rewritten the standards of engagement in the galaxy. Captain Rourke finally allowed the human ship to rest within the quiet darkness of space. The battle was over, but its impact would echo far beyond this sector. The humans had proven that restraint could enforce dominance, that patience could control outcomes, and that understanding was the greatest weapon of all. The alien fleets had survived, yet they would never forget the lesson. Humanity's legacy was secure, a force that could endure, guide, and shape the galaxy without unnecessary destruction, teaching others that true power lay in wisdom, not fear. As stars stretched endlessly beyond the human warship, Rourke gazed into the void with quiet determination. Humanity had faced its first encounter with an alien fleet of equal ambition and emerged not only victorious, but immortalized in principle. The galaxy would remember this day, not for explosions or firepower, but for the unyielding intelligence and measured control of a species that had learned to survive by being wiser, not louder. Humanity had left its mark, a legacy of strength, restraint, and enduring authority, and the universe would never underestimate them again.